Y'all, we ain't never getting out this platypus. We finna have a COVID-22, COVID-23, COVID-24. We ain't ever getting out this pandemic because of this foolishness. I order food every single day. I use DoorDash. They have like this no contact delivery thing. And usually when the delivery person arrives, they call me to let me know that they have my food. I always tell them to leave it at the front porch and I'll go get it. And so they leave it at the front porch and then they drive away. Well, yesterday when I ordered Chipotle, this Dasher called me to let me know that he was here. I told him to leave it at the front and he just stood in my front porch for like 5 minutes. Once he realized I wasn't coming out, then he left. Weird vibes. Like I was scared to get the food even after he left because I thought he was gonna jump out the bushes. So this is what I got. I got a burrito, and in Chipotle you have the option to like double wrap your burrito with the tortilla. I didn't get that, but if I did, it would have showed up on here. Usually when I get my food, I just bite into it. But this time I decided to check it because this guy was giving me such bad vibes. He had the audacity to double wrap it with the tortilla to hide the fact that he took a huge chunk.
Storytime on how I found out the FBI was spying on me for 7 months. At the time this was going on, I was a junior in high school. And in the mornings, I would walk to school because my school was only like a couple blocks down. But I always noticed there was like a gray minivan always going the same direction as me. So I always assumed that it was probably another kid from my school. And his or her parents was driving them to school. And one day I left home early because I wanted to get food from the store. So I went to a corner store, and when I came out, that same minivan was parked outside of the store. And then I was like, okay. Thought that was weird, but I walked back to school. But I didn't go the normal way that I usually go. I took a different shortcut that day because I didn't want to be late for school. And halfway there, that same minivan pops up again. And it went the opposite direction of me because it was a one-way street. By the time I got to school, the minivan was parked on the side of my school. I, of course, ran inside the building, and halfway through class, I forgot about the whole situation. Running out of time, I'll post part 2 right after this. Part 2 on how I found out the FBI was watching me for 7 months straight. For the first 3 to 4 months, a minivan was watching me, and when I started to catch on, they stopped showing up. But what got weird is when I got to school, every day my friends would just ask me weird questions about what I was doing, where I was going. And it was weird because I felt like I was being interrogated. After a couple months passed down, still being questioned, and I get called down to the principal's office. And I'm scared because I'm like, am I in trouble? What did I do? When I walk in, there's detectives sitting down. They then sat me down, started asking me questions. They laid out a bunch of pictures of me. And this is kind of how I found out they was watching me for so long. They asked me if my name was my real name, am I the age of my birth certificate, asked me if I was an immigrant, and I was so confused. And come to find out, they thought I was a mass murderer. When I told them, this wasn't me. I didn't do this stuff, man. They did some background checks. They got my family involved. My parents even wanted to sue because they didn't even know this was going on. Because at the time I was a minor and I was getting questioned.
Why you should be really careful how you treat people, and also why you should stick up for people. When I was in 8th grade, I was really good friends with this kid named Damon. Me, him, and this other friend of mine, we were all at the same table. In English class, we would joke around, talk about the same TV shows and movies. We were the loudest group by far. But near the end of the school year, Damon ended up moving. And it really sucked, but we said goodbye to Damon, who I should tell you was this small, short, funny, wisecracking kid. Didn't matter what you threw at him, he was super witty. So we said goodbye to him, we all went to 9th grade. It was either the end of 9th grade or the middle of sophomore year that I saw Damon again. He had transferred back to our school, saw him at a pep rally, and I was sitting by myself because I despised pep rally. He was like, Josadak, do you remember me? I was like, oh my gosh, David? He was so much taller, face looked different, his voice was deeper. This was obviously a different kid, but really happy to see me. So we started talking, catching up. Then I started noticing that he was getting hit in the back of the head with tiny paper balls. He wasn't even flinching. I looked behind me to see 3 boys throwing paper balls at him. What? Dude, do you see what they're doing? Yeah, I'm used to it. What? This was not the same witty boy that I knew. He instead kept his head down, insisted that it was okay, and said that he was used to it. Whatever happened between 8th grade and now completely changed the way that he viewed this behavior. I saw it as unacceptable. He thought it was okay. So instead of accepting that, I turned around and said, hey, what are we in 5th grade? The 3 boys looked at me from the top of the bleachers and said, whatever. Because that's what high schoolers who act like 5th graders say. And then I said, stop it, it's not funny. They didn't stop. They laughed. But Damon thanked me. I didn't know who this kid was anymore. I can only assume that this type of stuff was happening to him often. That kids at his new school were treating him poorly. And because of that, he thought he was less than. I literally never saw Damon again after that day, but I hope that he knows that he can stand up for himself and that that behavior is not okay. Be careful how you treat people, it stays with them. And it can fundamentally change them. With them, bye.
Well, I never played sports. Dad, though I'm really active and I play games with my friends all the time, my parents always ask me, how come you never joined a team? Y'all know that costs money, right? But also, When I was in 5th grade, we were playing soccer in PE. Nobody wanted to be the goalie. So I volunteered to be the goalie. I didn't really want to do it, but like nobody else was volunteering. But we gotta get the game started, so I went over there. Now, I was one of those girls who was never picked last in PE. I was always like number 3, number 4. There's no reason I couldn't handle being goalie. Anyway, the ball's coming towards me. They were shuffling the ball back and forth. I had already blocked a few balls already. It was coming towards me that time. It wasn't like they were far away. They were close to me. Before I knew it, I had been kicked in the face with a soccer ball. Full force, just kicked in the face. My head was in the dirt, crying. It's not a pretty picture. My friend at the time was like, well, why didn't you duck? What? You have a friend who's in literal pain crying on the ground. Please don't tell them what they should have done, especially in the moment. Show some sympathy. I know you're a 5th grader, but I'm still mad about that. So I had to go to the clinic. The nurse proceeded to do absolutely nothing. Oof, there's nothing I can do about this. I have ice. Do you want ice? Public school system.